Okay, so sorry about all the trouble, but we should be back for good. I did have to reset my computer, so well, I didn't have to, but I'm encountering problems, and a reset seemed to be the best way to go about this. I am blinking yellow every now and again, so I am feeling a bit shaky in terms of the quality of my internet at the moment. I have every intention of kicking these guys to the curb as soon as I possibly can. I don't really care if my alternative has a lower rating from whatever service. I've had to reset streams a few times in the past, and that never happened when I lived in BC with Shaw. So it's a sad fact, but there we have it. So if you missed the material before, we probably had about, I don't know, 40 minutes or so of content, mostly just introduction. So we'll load up the Zukukan Cabal, and we'll very briefly summarize what's going on. Not even summarize, but all right. So basically, we did a whole bunch of claims on these guys. Now, again, I want to be really careful that their fleet power doesn't move up on me. Impran can now get... Oh, can it? It's probably too expensive. Yep, they need 39 minerals. Can build a mine. And at some point I'm going to want to build an autothon monument, but not on any of the currently available spaces. The same could be said for here, actually. I definitely need to get those monuments underway. Well, for now, power plant. I'm not spending to clear the mountains here. We are waiting. So basically what we're waiting for right now, we've got a little bit of an energy nest egg that we're building up. I'm waiting on these guys to get to the capital, then we'll move my fleets into Seoul. We'll basically begin our invasion. Now, Darnama is actually going to be a bit of a hard target, but it seems... So my alternative is I can do Sarek and then Darnama right away. Alternatively, I hit Savik, Pildram, and then either Edorvang and then Darnama. The problem here is that if they have a chance to build up their fleet, then that means that I'm stuck fighting a fleet and that spaceport. So it seems to me to make as much sense to, you know, bite the bullet, take what'll potentially be a hard target, and move on. It'll also give me some information in terms of what their what the population looks like in terms of the military, and move accordingly. Now, because this is a tropical planet, I believe we will be able to enslave that population, so we'll sort of be able to diffuse them throughout the empire, and I'll basically be able to reduce it to a slave species, which is good. The other nice thing is that if we do particularly well in the war, what I can do is I can do sort of these bombing runs on other planets and steal their population, which is another nice feature. But that's getting a little bit ahead of myself. The first goal is to sort of take down their defenses, take as many war objectives as I possibly can, and then just get to a point where I'm eating their lunch. You know, if I can make it so that they have to come to me to take back war goals, that is a much better position than having to achieve them as they're building up their capacity, which is one of the reasons why I sort of want to take out a starport as quickly as possible, even if that means potentially higher casualties. One drawback is that I do potentially lose some experience, but I do have my industry backing me up, so I'm actually willing to lose some units if it comes down to it, in order to achieve those goals. It's also worth mentioning that once the colonization is done, we'll actually have another jump in terms of our energy credits, which I keep forgetting about. Okay. Now, as for expansion, kind of where I want to be with that for now. I do have one other base that I can build. See, the problem is Fainov is the best place to put it, because... Wait a minute, I don't have a colony here, right? So this should just have a pair of anchorages. No, I do have a trading hub. Oh yes, Imprem Prime. Tricky questions. I think I am going to build it at Fainov. All right. Ah, oh, for God's sake. I still dropping frames. Well, I'll have to live with it. It is tempting to do like a detour and take out the ancient mining drones and stuff like that, but again, eyes on the prize. I definitely want to make sure that I'm taking out. I definitely want to make sure that I'm taking out my enemies as quickly as possible. While scanning the asteroid belt, our science team found some sort of irregularity. Okay. Construction will build a research station. I'm really looking for social research, so Beetlejuice is the obvious choice there. As it is, I'm going to be moving up there for the minerals anyway. And, okay, so it looks like physics station is done, and in this case I'll build... I feel bad about building the mining outpost here, but I know that we're going to be closing this in, so it'd be best if I don't have... pirates kind of generating from every location. Okay, so that research station's done. I don't think I'm going to expand out to Omicron per se yet. As much as I would like to, I really do need to. I do need to watch my influence. So the question is, what do I want this thing building? And I think the answer there would be probably expansion. So in the meantime, I think I'm going to build mining stations in Foldara. That'll take a while to transport. I'm going to leave the... Actually, no, that's not. I can build mining stations at Seoul. Again, these are potentially something that'll be gobbled up by pirates, but... and here are the ransomiers. Okay, this is good to know. Among the asteroids surrounding X12413, we've discovered an alien ship adrift. It is not responding to our attempts to hail them. If this is due to it being unable to interpret our signal or some other reason, we do not know. Science Officer Lishmi Scrash recommends that we get a construction ship to tow it out of the debris field. If left untouched, it risks being crushed by the asteroids. A special project has been issued to save the ship and investigate it. So that's way out in Trimus. I don't know if we'll hit that spot in time, but we'll do our best. So, or we can scrap it for materials, 1,000 minerals. I mean, it's tempting, but I am going to say intriguing, and we'll move here. So that's going to take me 1,000 days. Oh, and we've got a diplomatic proposal, so they'll give me a ton of energy credits where basically I can start the party, and they want the Garanthium ore, which we've got 2 of. I can live with that. Okay, so energy problem solved. Mountain range is going first. And everything else I'm happy with. It's very unlikely that this is actually going to get done in time, but we'll see. We've encountered some form of alien vessels in the Unuk system. These strange objects have been flagged as the Res aliens until we can learn more about them. Okay, so Similar story, we just want these fleets to combine, and then we start our wars.
Sphere of influence expanded.
Okay.
Construction complete.
Everything's coming online, which is good. So Elgor has got... I want to get some... I want to get some... Oh, come on. There's not a lot on this planet, is there? Okay, well... I've been slacking on my autochron monument, so we'll start with that. At some point I'm going to use this as a kind of a fleet basing area, but I've moved up my fleet cap, so I actually need to get to a point where I actually have space for everything. So one of the drawbacks of my slow growth is that I don't have a population to sustain as many starports as I would like.
Special project complete.
Space amoebas. These entities encountered by our fleets some time ago are spaceborne forms of life, quickly nicknamed the space amoeba following a tactician's gross misreading of the initial sensor output. The creature is in fact larger than the average Zukukan corvette. This creature displays aggressive behavior towards Zukukan ships, but further study is warranted. For example, we could exercise our martial prowess by swiftly executing the specimen and study the remains. Sure, we'll make the fleets will make short work of it. Alright, let's pause for a moment. Okay, so we're combined. Fleet cap's not getting any bigger, so let's go to Seoul. Still have superior numbers. We'll see if that's true once we transport over, but we'll basically... Oh! That's
Star system
excellent news. So they're going to take out those mining drones. This will be a great opportunity if we can catch them. Don't do that. Well, actually that's still the most direct path. If we can avoid attacking these things, so much the better. We'll see where we sit after this event. And for some reason we weren't doing physics research, so auxiliary fire control mostly because it's the shortest period. I also should check my specializations.
Star system charted.
Not ideal, but
Star system charted.
it's not ideal in any situation. There are signs of activity by an ancient precursor civilization on this asteroid. So we'll take advantage of that. We should also be able to upgrade this building now.
Construction complete.
Okay, so we built a starbase on the system that we wanted. I think we'll move to build the mining stations. And here... I definitely want to be... Well, actually, we've got enough to justify mineral outlays now. Like, we're even with a fleet in space, we're at 41 energy. So we've received a communique from a previously unknown spacefaring empire that call themselves the Lyrabos Kingdom. They claim to have learned of our existence by listening in on the communications of another empire that we are in contact in. They're an enlightened monarchy. Slaving despots, authoritarian, militaristic, so we sort of get along with them in that sense. I speak on behalf of the Lyrabos Kingdom, and I come with a message for your depraved species. As long as you stay out of our internal affairs and treat our great leader High Buttercup the First with reverence, there may yet be peace between our nations. This is appalling. I'm just looking at my frame drops. We'll fight for our right to exist, Lyrabos. Where are they? Alright, right here. So we don't have too much to worry about. The nice thing here, of course, is that we should be able to gobble these guys up before too long.
Construction complete.
Some entity have entered into a defensive pact with the Lozvada League. Now that's going to be a little tricky for me to deal with. This asteroid appears to have served as home for a single Yut individual. Deep scans show a series of connected caves in the asteroid's interior that follow a pattern similar to the rooms seen in ancient Yut dwellings that have been discovered elsewhere. To learn more, we'll have to dispatch an away team to investigate the cave system.
Situation log updated.
So, the drawback here is that as soon as I declare war on these guys, the Zum are going to make a move on my main planet, and I'm not really going to be able to defend against that. I think I'm still going to go for it. But this will potentially prove quite costly. So actually I have kind of two goals now as far as, let's embark these armies. So reason number one I want to get this thing dealt with quickly is so I can end the war quickly, but number two, so that I can fly through and take these guys out before they start taking important infrastructure out. Ilat is home to a number of exquisite impact craters. However, something breaks the visual uniformity in one of the larger craters. We've encountered some form of alien vessel in the Aklinda system. These strange objects have been flagged as the beta aliens until we can learn more about them. Well, we will take the time to learn about them. The other alternative, of course, would be I can try building some defensive platforms to deal with them. Nihal. I'll build one. We'll see what we can get with this. This is pretty optimistic, though, that I'm going to be able to.
Enemy vessels.
All right, so much for that. Hopefully, it won't take out too much of our fleet.
A foreign power is hailing us.
It's a bit of damage to our metal. After successfully translating their language, we established communication with the Von Okan host. Diplomatic channels are now open and all hostilities have been terminated. We sense the presence of prey. Prey. Support for support. Thank you very much for the follow. Pray know that we are your hunters. The biomass of the Zukakan species will fuel the growth of the Vun Okan host. Struggle if you must. It will not change the outcome. We will fight for our right to party, you ravenous host. And holy smokes! Good luck, guys. Okay. Not crazy about that outcome, to be honest, but that's life. We'll still move to Seoul because it does take a long time for us to get our fleets where we want them to be. This is going to be a very risky play, I think, when it comes down to it. But
construction complete.
I mean, I can also go over capacity with my fleets. I'm slightly tempted to do that, but again, I'll still try and do some defensive platforms just because I know that they're... Like, these are sort of trivial. I don't think this immediate area is going to cause me any problems in terms of losses immediately. It's going to be more if they start sort of claiming systems. And they're not going to be able to claim systems without going through Nihal, so... But boy, I don't feel confident about it. Well, the crater in question was most likely the result of a regular meteorite impact. The complex patterns in the resulting depression originated at a later time. Science officer Ahit Ailyo argues that the surface level patterns are not the result of an impact, but a collision, one between the asteroid and some unspecified orbital installation or ship of alien make. 9 engineering for that location. Okay. What does our enemy look like? Still inferior fleet power, which is good news. And I think I am going to start building a secondary fleet just once. Yeah, I'm still going to need to build up minerals to do that, though, so
Technology
that may not turn out.
secured.
Alien Zoo. I've been waiting for that for a while. I forgot to read the text. Sorry for that. I am tempted to go for clearing the volcano blockers because I believe that takes... I believe that blocks a few of my planets. So I got 2, but no resources. 3 with 1. Pretty much everything on this planet. Okay, so it's not as big of a problem as I thought it would be. It is actually very tempting to do the slave process. You know what? I am going to go for the slave processing facility. The reason for that is it's so inexpensive by comparison. Slave processing facility will actually give me 2 minerals, 2 food, and it will improve the production of slaves. So it's a fairly powerful building to have.
Star system charted.
This is going to be... This could be something that winds up costing me quite a bit. So the Techerists don't want any part of this. But we're going for it.
Declared war to safeguard our interests.
Okay. So we'll start with a move into Serac, and then immediately try and claim the planet. Now, likely their fleets are going to come through Aruz, but again, I want to take out that planet as quickly as I can, and we're going to make sure that our armies are ready to take it as soon as possible. I'd even potentially be willing to like eat up a bunch of their. I'd potentially be willing to eat up a bunch of their territory, then come back to deal with the Zum, and then come back to finish the job here, if it comes down to it. But we'll see how this goes, because I haven't tried a war like this. Combined, they actually have enough to take on this fleet. Oh, and of course we've got pirates now. So at Ar Dokad, we've got a 592 fleet. Where is that? Well, that can be as much of a problem for the Zum as it is for me, so we're just going to move along to Beetlejuice. And in the meantime, on Camdor, I think we're going to start making some replacement ships. So this is going to cost me quite a bit in energy for going over capacity.
Attacking enemy assets.
It's going to carry with it the advantage of...
Construction complete. Construction complete.
Okay, that's interesting. So they're not actually going after Nihal.
Complete.
That's also fairly good, because what that means is that they're going to be spending more time just kind of flying through these intermediate systems while I go for the meat in the Lozvada League. I do want to make sure that I actually inflict a defeat on that fleet, though. Otherwise, it's going to be bad news. Okay, so this thing's got 619 for strength.
Attacking enemy assets.
And for... That's got nothing for armies, so we're good to go. In fact, once I occupy the planet, I think I'm going to take my guys up and we're going to set them back to... We're going to find where the... We're going to find where they're keeping... where they're going to be invading. Science team from the observation station orbiting Krakow's nest have not reported anything substantial in a while. That was until a young scientist stationed on the facility sent an encrypted message, blaming her colleagues of misconduct. The crew have reportedly descended upon the planet and proclaimed that the chief scientist is a deity to the locals. Not only that, but they also made them construct a holy monument in his honor. The resulting pyramid now stands on the planet's surface. This is a disgrace. So I guess I'm gonna send something to my... All right. Not only that, but they made them construct a holy monument in their honor. Recall the team and scrap the project. Hilarious. This prank will go down in history. They're thrust into the next stage. Hopefully there are no bad... erase our traces and keep working. God, let's see what this thing looks like. Okay, so then they're in the Iron Age. Yeah. They're now in the late medieval age. Congratulations.
Station under attack.
Alright, so we knew this was coming. What station, though? Ah, that's the pirate fleet. Okay, I can live with that. Build speed. Okay, so railgun seems to be the cheapest and also most consistent with what I'm running with, so we'll go with that. Again, I'm really interested in where these enemy fleets are. Okay, so they're going after Beta Corvi now. We took Duran Mana, so that's good news there. I think what I'm going to wind up doing here... Now, we should maintain the bombing campaign. And I actually plan on taking this planet, so we'll do... How many pops are there on here? I mean, these guys are kind of close, so...
Construction complete. Anomaly found.
Alright, we're going to leave that be for now because this is a level 4 anomaly. Great Pyramid. After having let the dust settle on maintaining observation operations on Krakow's nest's locals, we unfortunately have to declare it a catastrophe. The population on the planet broke out into all-out war due to religious tensions, a consequence of the sudden appearance and subsequent disappearance of whom they call the Skyborn One. One of the factions have constructed another pyramid to their new deity, and many have perished in the fighting. Curses! Another great pyramid appears on Krakow's nest. I want to see this. They gain the Skyborn War modifier for 720 days with minus to happiness, and we lose influence as a result of it. So where's the pyramid? Okay, so this gives 2 food and social. Cool. Okay, looks like we built that ship. Again, I'm trying to build my B fleet as quickly as I can.
Star system charted.
Once I'm done bombing Thriving Green, we will be able to move on to other conquests. I completely forgot to merge these. They could have been on their way. So, no longer moderate. What are we looking at here? I actually think the fleet can handle this, so let's start taking some objectives. Uh-oh. Okay, so 1700. Let's just go crashing straight into them. I hope to God they don't catch my... Yeah, we're good. And we'll get a general for the job, so boost to army morale or upkeep. I think we'll go for the morale. Wow, these guys move fast. Once the ship drifting by X-12-413 has been towed out of the debris, we could send in an away team to investigate. It is a murder scene. Only one crew member has been found, a long-eared amphibian biped who appears to have been stabbed repeatedly. The ship is, by the death of its crew, up for grabs. It is fitted with very efficient thrusters, the structure and design of which are beyond us at present. The vessel is not armed, seemingly having been used for transport for important personnel. Repurposing it into an exploration vessel would be a minor undertaking. However, if we instead deconstruct it and study the engines for greater detail, we could maybe capture some of its genius and translate it into practical improvements for our fleet. So, in this case, let's do enhanced speed because we already have enough. We already have enough science ships. And hopefully we arrive... Okay, we're not going to be able to recapture Sarak, but we are going to be able to inflict a battlefield defeat on them. An unusually deliberate geometric configuration of minerals drifts through the debris belt LK-1294, and it is possibly of alien origin. So we'll research that.
Zero-G mineral production violently diminished.
Okay, so that should be the pirates. I am a little perplexed about how to handle the Zoom, to be completely honest. But I think probably what I'm going to do here is I'm going to rely on my fleet here to do the heavy lifting, to take these guys out as frequently and as violently as possible. And once we sort of claim all the battlefield objectives, we can maybe go and deal with the Zum.
Planetary invasion commenced. Ground invasion force has seized a planet.
Okay, good news. Think this is going to be a little... might be ill-advised. I'm going to park them on Thriving Green for now. Okay. How many ships did we destroy is the real question. Only 4. So what we're going to do now... This does give them a little bit of breathing room. But again, I want to claim all of these objectives if I can. According to a report from the crew of the ISS Aiku, their mission was a failure. Science officer Lishmi Shash allegedly took manual control of the probe sent to retrieve a sample from the cluster, resulting in a collision between the drone and the mineral cluster that, while mild, resulted in the mineral cluster breaking apart completely. The crew is careful to note that the experience has left Science Officer Lishmi Shash somewhat shaken, and the mineral shards should still be of some value. So, Carefree's trait and 1500 minerals, which will help me build that fleet. Yeah, definitely we're doing that. Okay, so Camdor, we can get an upgrade to the engineering facility. We can upgrade our energy. Here we can upgrade our farm, as well as the auto monument. And so we've got a destroyer, 2 corvettes, destroyer, 2 corvettes, destroyer, 2. Okay. So again, overcapacity, but we're starting to build something that can actually give these guys a run for their money, which will be important fairly soon. Okay, new contact. We have received a communique from a previously unknown spacefaring empire that call themselves the Zemmerpuck Covenant. They claim to have learned of our existence by listening in on the communications of another empire that we're in contact with. They are egalitarian spiritualists, so we won't get along well. I bring greetings for the revered elder Utinik Yipkia, the elected leader of the Zemmerpuck Covenant. We believe in the right of all sapient beings to fulfill their individual spiritual needs, and we hope that you will share in this sentiment. Our warriors salute you. So the deal here is, again, just trying to claim as many of these, as many of the war goals as we can before coming back to deal with the Zum. We've already been able to beat them on the battleground, but again, that's only one victory. Shockingly, they don't like me. Now the good news is that we're sort of ahead on the war exhaustion, but these the Zum are going to be chewing up my my territory, so I want to be careful about this. I'm going to do vassal acculturation. Loyalty and service are all well and good, but as responsible overlords, we must also take steps to introduce vassal empires to our culture. They will eventually come to thank us for it. Now, we don't have any vassals yet. We're still going to be waiting a while on that, but I think it's the most likely one that we will be using before too long.
Enemy presence exposed.
Okay, so what are we looking at here? This is 501, 787. So this is good to know that they're sort of splitting up like this. Because if this gets sufficiently strong, I'm going to be able to move in and cause a little bit of a headache for them.
Star system charted.
All right, can I see this system yet? 3 armies. So it is a little tempting to pick up my guys from this planet. So we'll take 2 here and keep them as a bit of a garrison. The remainder we're going to send to Aruz. So the idea is that I should be able to take this
construction complete,
and then we'll take Unibin. And again, the longer that they sort of jump between these areas, the better it is for me, because that just means that I'm going to be able to mess around in this this area. The drawback, of course, is that Unibin is not a war goal for me, so I don't gain as much for this, but it does give me sort of convenient access to all of this area. I might also be able to do a little bit of raiding. Okay, so we got physics research done. I can do cold fusion reactor or bonuses to shield hit points. This is the cheapest technology, so I'm going to go for that, as well as being not a bad one. I mean, obviously, more survivability on ships is always a good thing. The war score is unfortunately a little more even than I would like it to be, if I'm perfectly honest. But we'll see. So they got 167, 501. Okay, so it looks like they're splitting up a bit. We're at even strength here. But I think that's going to change pretty soon. And we're still in the black as far as energy is going, so I'm just going to keep cranking these things out until it becomes untenable. We've detected the presence of a primitive alien civilization on Ratragras in the Thuban system. They appear to be in the later stages of a Bronze Age, having mastered early metalworking. Although most of their population is rural, several large city-states have formed. We should consider building an observation post above their world to study them more closely. Also, I think I've got an entire fleet of idle construction ships, which I don't like, so let's get you... I'm definitely going to need energy to continue this war. We're going to get you building... Where are you? Obers. Okay, I'll get you to build a research station for now. This guy finished his objective. Get him to at least move to Shawl. And this guy... Okay, I'd love him to build a research station, but I used up all my minerals on fleets, so my bad. The L station, I can upgrade something. I can upgrade the defense platforms. Speaking of which, how strong is Nihal? Okay, 1k. So that's the main reason why they're taking all these little outposts. And the great news about that is because they're dividing their fleet up now, I'm going to be able to start gobbling them up piece by piece. The longer that they travel like this, the easier it's going to be for me to fly in and take back Beta Corvi and Bagal and basically be able to take them on terms that are more favorable to me. Now, they're still inferior as far as fleet strength is concerned, but I'm a little bit worried that they've been secretly building up their capacity. Could try and take their capital, but it's a little too optimistic in my humble opinion. Yeah, they snuck around me. Okay, that's fine. They're gonna start bombarding this planet, it looks like. Yep. So I'm going to take a while to get to them, but while I'm doing that, I'll be able to claim blooming fields.
Enemy presence exposed.
Although that's a little bit of a fairer fight than I want it to be.
Spaceport under attack. Spaceport under attack.
Yeah, this might actually prove to be a little too risky for me. Zukakans, how delightful. We hadn't expected to encounter you for a few centuries yet. Personally, I thought you would wipe yourselves out long before leaving your gravity well, but I'm glad that I was proven wrong. Our warriors salute you. The shadow remnants of an ancient ring world encircle the star in the Fihir system. Thank you very much for that host again, Jess. I've been having ISP problems, and you know how much I like them. I don't think anybody's watching anymore, to be honest. Any planetary bodies that must have once existed here must have been used as building material during this megastructure's construction. No evidence hinting towards who originally built this marvel of engineering has been found. It must have been a product of a very advanced culture. Amazing. Okay, so unfortunately, there's no way I'm going to be able to get close enough to that. But it's good to know that that exists. Had to commute home. Oh, that's fine. I mean, I don't take attendance. Okay, so they're going to be... Yeah, they're definitely going to be causing some hurt on... Oh, they actually took out the... Okay, what are we looking at? So you've got a strength of 5. Okay, so yeah, they're about to take out the base. This Corvette, where are the troops? Okay, only 2 transfer ships, so we'll be okay. I'm going to be gobbling up territories as I go along. I might lose the fight on Unaban, which is concerning to me. we're always just slightly above them, but I mean, I guess we do have a fresh one in reserve, but it's going to be a pretty bloody fight, and I'm not going to have any reserves left. Initial analysis of the asteroid's composition point towards potentially interesting finds. We'll research that. Okay, all construction ships are free again, so what do I want to do? Research stations here. For these guys, we'll do more research as well. For these guys, let's do... I can't do all mining, but I can at least get some energy underway. And this science ship's now free. Let's just keep doing surveys. So Jess, you should actually probably know, I did a really risky war. So the Zom entity allied with the guy who I'm currently fighting with. And combined, they actually outnumber my fleets. So they've been sort of gobbling up some of my territories in here. But what I've been doing is I've been trying to hit hard on their sort of some of their own lands. And basically the hope here is that I'm able to sort of claim all of the... I'm basically hoping that I'm able to claim all of the systems that are the subject of this war and sort of present them with a fait accompli before I deal with the consequences of these invasions. But I did a couple of things to protect myself. Number one, I improved this starhold a little bit. So now this is 1K, so they're going to have to put their combined fleets to be able to take this out. Furthermore, they've kind of gotten the low-hanging fruit. So you'll notice that here they've got a 167 strength, a 579 strength, and I've been building over capacity this backup fleet here. And so what's going to happen is as this war drags out and as it's more likely that they're able to start getting sort of these claims or something like that, what I'm going to be able to do is eventually fly this fleet down. They're going to be spread out trying to take my other territory. And as a result, while I'm succeeding over here, I'm building up my strength in the north, and we're going to be able to go down and gobble up the Zum where they're weak. So I kept them from taking my high-value targets by having this choke point here. And again, as they continue to spread themselves out, they are able to gain these sort of minor victories in these areas here, but it shouldn't be enough to tilt the war in their favor. I am really curious, though, what a win on Blooming Fields is going to cost me.
Star system charted.
I'm really surprised that... Yeah, so I lost the general, despite the fact that the 3rd Assault Force is sitting in the back. Wow, they're just going to drill through all of this stuff. That's appalling. It's like they deliberately wanted me to give up as the maximum number of troops. Anyways, we should win, just at a very, very heavy cost. Ruined Dyson Sphere. Oh my god. We've encountered... So, if this is in the same area, I'm going to be so choked. We've encountered the remains of an enormous space structure in Bolodon, encompassing the system's primary. Our scientists theorize that this may have once been a functional Dyson sphere, a megastructure designed to harness the power of a star. It is obviously no longer operational, with its hull having sustained critical damage from an unknown type of energy weapon. Of note, there are also large debris fields surrounding the sphere, although the megastructure itself is ancient. Much of the debris in the system appears to be significantly younger. Most of it seems to originate from 2 distinct battle fleets that pummeled each other into oblivion, possibly in a war to decide the ownership over this shattered sphere at some point in more recent galactic history, which I believe is the trailer for the Utopia expansion. It's just it's one of my favorite trailers. Fascinating. Okay, so... And yeah, so this is a pretty desirable part of space. I'm glad that I'm cutting these guys off from it, but it's definitely going to be coming at a fairly high cost. Okay, so they took out the... station, but my guys are on their way, so we're going to take Akamar. Yeah, so basically I have two stops and we'll get there. It appears that the asteroid B13112 and the surrounding debris originate from a former planet. Deep within the center of the asteroid, we find traces of extremely valuable minerals. There are also hints of bacterial life that has now died in the vacuum of space. This shows us that the celestial body once bore the promise of life. We're not quite at the point where we're going to be blowing up planets yet, so you don't need to
Ground
worry
invasion
about us
force
creating
has
this.
seized a planet.
Okay, that's a relief. Let's land on blooming fields. I don't even really want that planet. I just want the war score for it. But I'm not able to move my fleets back to this planet here. So now this is a fairly weak fleet now. I mean, they've been in a few fights, but their combined power is still enough to take these guys on. So I'm feeling moderately confident, although the confidence is not as high as it should be. Allowing the recent sensor sweep of the Edor Vang system, Admiral Ahit Piho Ri has learned how to deploy his units to maximize their sensor range. Few commanders possess this skill to carry out such complex maneuvers, and he's gained the scout trait. Good for him.
Presence exposed.
Please take them out. Okay, what am I looking at in my shipyard? I'm still waiting for... I am actually going to wait for this fleet to be completed, because I'm just going to be able to come in and smash the Zum when it comes to it.
Construction complete.
And again, hopefully they're not using a particularly difficult bombing strategy. Construction ships haven't still doing their thing, so... That was a really expensive general, but it was the difference between us getting the system and not, so I should be happy.
Star system charted.
Looks like they don't know what they're doing. Oh, they are spoiling for a fight.
Star system charted.
Please focus on the fleet, not on the starbase. Alright, so hopefully we did a lot of damage to their, fleet. Otherwise they're just going to be back. So I've got idle science ships. The drawback, of course, about this war is I really need to be paying attention to what's going on. So it translates into a lot of idle resources. It seems that I haven't actually been surveying these. I think it's been trying to take a really long route around these droids. Well, that's fine. I'll get an idea of what's going on here. Looks like these guys were constrained from exploration west anyway, but I mean, these aren't that strong, so I think it was still the right call to sort of step on them. Now, the ideal outcome is that these guys get strong enough that they're able to take my stuff back, and that I actually start kidnapping people from, like, their capital on Loza or something like that. But whether or not I can achieve that is another question. Let's see. So first of all, let's see what the Butcher's bill for that was. We lost 2 destroyers and 2 corvettes. They only lost 1 destroyer and 1 corvette, so I might actually need to redirect some of these forces to... I might need to redirect some of my new ships to... Oh, hang on. This is my war exhaustion. Oh my god, so their war exhaustion is not as high. Okay, so I'm getting to the danger zone. Well... Okay. We'll stay the course for now, because we're still only a third of the way.
Construction complete. Construction.
But they may force my
complete.
hand. They may force my hand near the Zum. I actually think it was those. I think it was probably those land battles that wound up
Technology
costing me so
secured.
much in war exhaustion. Okay, cognition is little, but the processing of sensory input, it can be altered. So we gain neural implants, which improve my slave capacities. Boosts to starbase capacity is pretty much all hands on deck, even though it's the most expensive. We'll pay for the defenses. How are the shipyard going through? Okay. It's okay, but could be better. Upgrades. Oops. Okay, so we can upgrade this, which is going to take up most of my capacity. I can build that alien. I've actually been able to build that for a while. So we're actually going to sit on this because I don't have enough minerals. I could very well lose this.
Vessels upgraded.
So yeah, these guys have got strength of 1200. They're currently repairing. These guys are at 87%. Again, I think we should be able to handle this. I think what I'm actually going to wind up doing, I'm going to bully this. I'm going to bully this transport fleet, and then I think I'm actually going to go for their capital. So the nice thing here is that they actually need to come to me over these war goals. So once I do that, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the transport fleet. I'm going to take out their navy, and then I'm just going to continue to take slaves off of Loza, their capital. And in the meantime, that should give me enough time for this alternative fleet to move in on the Zum and start reclaiming some of this territory. I basically want to make it as painful and as costly as possible for them to keep doing this.
Construction complete.
Oh, hang on. Did they finish the... No, they can't have finished it. There's still more 2 corvettes, so... we'll do an upgrade real quick. We'll probably hire an admiral for this, but we'll see. Okay, so it looks like the problem with this is they're actually going to be in pretty good shape for putting some pain on this planet, taking out the garrison. But I really need to claim these war goals. The war goals, so it's basically -20 because I have the unoccupied systems. I'm still going to need to really hammer them on some other fronts, but the fact that these war goals haven't been claimed yet is a major reason why they're still in the game.
Star system charted.
Okay, we're doing okay. Once the upgrade's done, we're gonna make our move on the Zum.
Star
If I
system
lose this
charted.
planet, this is actually gonna be a problem, but...
Vessels upgraded.
And it's possible that may happen. It depends what they're... Okay, so... Second Admiral, the youngest one. And we're gonna send you... I think we're actually just gonna reclaim these territories first. So yeah, our occupation isn't the major reason for... I think I'm gonna lose this.
Construction complete. Construction complete.
Okay, so it looks like they went back to Loza. And they're on their way to Fatis, so what we'll do instead is we'll actually meet them.
Star system charted.
Okay, so their resistance is wavering. Against my better judgment, I'm going to start building some more outposts. Not a lot we can do about this pirate fleet at the moment, unfortunately. We can claim region. We'll also claim shoal. And Heodem, I guess? Yeah, I mean, I've exploited all the resources in my area except for here, which isn't very well defended, so... I'm gonna have a big mess to clean up at the end of all of this.
Star system charted.
So I am interested in the strength at Loza. Okay. Well, looks like they... Actually, with a 449 strength spaceport, this is going to be a lot fairer of a fight than I want it to be. I sadly don't have any options.
Exposed.
Wait a minute, demanding unoccupied systems. Oh, no, I gotta take that. Yeah, so my attrition is through the roof.
Star system charted.
I think I got a little too greedy on my war demands, to be completely honest.
Construction.
But I'm going to continue with the. I'm going to continue with this strategy. So, again, we'll take all the war goals. We will take out that fleet. Hopefully, before they claim their planet back. And
Star system charted.
I need to be a little clearer on how I'm going to deal with the zoom. Yes, it is a measurable stat. So when you bring this up, this is one of the changes they brought about in Apocalypse. So war exhaustion. If you get to like 100% war exhaustion, then they can force peace on you. So I'm almost halfway. So attrition, and this is passively accumulated during the war. So this is the fact that I'm the aggressor, and that's just gonna like go up over time. Interesting. So we lost 7 ships, so that's 13% of the war exhaustion has come from space battles, whereas 6% of theirs have come from losing 3 ships. I always think that's a little bit of BS because, like, clearly I've been mopping the floor with them. But yeah, basically we're losing too much in order to gain this. Is what this really comes down to. So even in these cases where, like in this case at Unibin, they apparently didn't gain any war exhaustion despite the fact that I won that battle. Like, and it seems to be entirely related to the fact that I'm losing these ships. But anyways, we do have a major hump has been overcome by the fact that we now have all of the goals. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be trying to inflict as many wounds on them as possible in the least costly way. So one thing they've done right now is they've split their fleet. So I've got 1299 strength on their way here. They've got 706 here. So I'm basically gonna dismember their fleet here, and then I'm gonna turn around and take the ones out on Zoltan. And in the meantime, I'm going to try and keep those shipyards working. Looks like they're a little confused about what to do.
Construction complete.
So again, they're trying to take this this base here. They'll probably succeed, but I'm going to be on my way to take them out. Through hardware experienced scientist Lishmi Sash has developed new skills. Speaking of which, we probably have some, well, not idle science ships, but idle construction ships.
Technology secured.
I think I'm going to take a slightly different approach here. So we're coming in hot. Actually going to go out and around. That way I won't engage the spaceport till the very end of the battle. Technology. The latest in electromagnetic accelerators, railguns use twin parallel rails to fire projectiles at incredible speeds. And I think, so everything more or less costs the same. I will go for the antimatter missiles because that's equivalent to a rocket version of the technology I just researched. So the reason I'm doing this path is it allows me to engage their fleet without taking on the base right away. Private collector on Nihil Prime has somehow come into ownership of an ancient precursor artifact believed to be of Yut origin. Despite government pressure, the collector has so far been reluctant to part with it. So I can give him 500 energy credits, belongs in a museum, and lose influence, or let the collector keep it. We'll buy it. I still have a surplus of energy. All right, let the games begin. So they're obviously pushing me closer to the base.
Construction complete.
So we're definitely getting smacked out of the fight. Okay, so we won at Osseum, but they didn't lose anything. This is the thing that drives me insane, is that it feels like the AI doesn't actually pay for being caught.
Construction complete.
Ooh, they're very close to surrendering. I bet that's going to happen at the end of this fight. Oh.
Technology secured.
Spoke too soon. Small concentrations of this gas have shown to significantly strengthen the integrity of energy force fields. It also has the dulling effect on the minds of the creatures exposed to the gas. All right. I think FTL inhibitors sound like a great technology right now. The FTL inhibitors would have helped me out with the Zum's invasions. Okay, so we'll see what happens. I suspect what's happening here is the difference in war exhaustion might be driving some of this.
Star system charted.
So we'll see what happens after this battle. We can achieve the war goals. Awesome. Okay, so again, claiming that one area was what we needed. We'll see whether or not this was worth it. We have heard the pain of the cosmos crying out against this conflict. To stop the senseless dissonance, we surrender immediately. This is the best possible outcome. So we get all our territories back. Yay me. We will immediately heal and upgrade our fleets. We'll send these guys back to the capital. And I have a lot of management to do now. So I don't think I will ever do another war like that again. But we were talking a little bit about, again, the Thucydides Trap and why I undertook such a risky war. So the question is, why was I willing to take on a fight that from the very beginning I said I was not in a state, it was not going to be an easy fight for me. So the question is, why did I do that? And again, these guys used to have a naval capacity that was equal, or that was superior to mine, and their fleet power was inferior. So they had the possibility of becoming a rival to me. Hey, Jeff DeHeff, it is indeed a stream. So in this case, again, there isn't an ideal time to do a fight like that. And the fact that they took a defensive pact with the Zum entity was even worse. In fact, for the Zum entity, now their naval capacity is superior to mine. But they do have inferior technology and inferior fleet power, and I do have a peace treaty with them. So I'm not going to be able to, I'm not really going to be able to do much about that at the moment. But basically what I've been able to do now is I've been able to cut off their access to this expansion out here, which turns out to include a couple of megastructures. So I actually have a pretty high priority in terms of being able to navigate through all of this. In the meantime, the Zum are sort of contained into this area here, so I'm going to start building some more star bases and just generally trying to get a handle on what's going on. And the next few turns now are going to be about sort of consolidating my position and trying to, trying to lock down my borders a little bit more and just get rid of some of these holes that have been poked into them. But I'm generally I'm in a better spot than I was at the beginning, because these guys are defanged and they're not going to be coming back anytime soon. The Zum entity is actually my bigger problem, and we'll see what happens in 10 years with them. But again, in this case, I sort of focused on the goal. I knew that I needed to sort of cut off their access to. Why don't they want protectorate settings? Apparently their population. Well, hopefully we'll outbreed them. But yeah, when it comes down to it, the alternative is if I waited, these guys likely would have had a fleet that would have been equal to or greater than my strength, independent of whether or not they had the defensive pact. And so this was my opportunity to prevent them. Just like the Zum entity, that was my opportunity to sort of cut them down to size and be able to sort of push my weight around a little bit. So in the meantime, my empire is a mess. I've got one too many planets. I've got, just a bunch of stuff that I need to manage. So let's start with the sectors, because sectors are actually very helpful. So we'll create a new one. We'll base it around the conquered territory. And I guess the question is whether or not I want this to become a border between the two sectors, or I think I'm gonna keep the number of sectors I have to a minimum right now. And I'm basically not going to tax them anything because I'd like them to develop on their own. So we'll recruit a new governor. And I'm also missing a governor for my main system, so we'll recruit another one. They're really good at slaves, so. Okay, so that deals with the immediate problem of having too many planets. Now I'm going to eventually have to deal with that when I take something like Heodim, and what I'll probably do is a planet like Egalor will become sort of the next sector to they'll sort of be the eastern side of the empire. Of course, Heodim could also become sort of the capital for the eastern part of the empire, because I've got Tistra available to me. But we'll figure that out. I mean, I don't have as much in the way of expansion plans. Now, I'm going to do something a little unexpected here. I don't normally do this, but so these guys are clearly inferior. They're deviant, they're charismatic, they're traditionalist, they're quick learners. Just in general, so they're slaves. And yeah, we'll give them basic subsistence. And they can serve in the military. Yeah, we're okay with all of this. So the problem is these guys are going to be unhappy. And so what I want to do is I'm going to sort of diffuse these guys out, and I'm going to replace them where I can with good citizens. So the idea is that, like, this is like ripe material for a rebellion. So what I want to do is I want to take the potentially rebellious citizens and I want to diffuse them throughout the empire, and I have the money to do that. So on Camder, so basically what I think I'm going to do is, like, we'll start by making sure that all the resources are being worked by or like all the mineral resources are being worked by the plant people. Of course, I don't want too much of a concentration on the... Oh, wow, that's a lot of energy credits. Still going for it. So I don't want to have too many slaves on one planet, so that's my capital. Ampaldir Prime. So get them working on the farm. And actually only going to have one there. And on Impran, we'll trade them out. So the highest we have are 3 on the capital. Thriving Green now has 2. So the idea here is that, like, obviously, because they're a slave species and because they're basically being fed sort of subsistence, they're not going to be happy. But the difference is that the planet that was originally taken over, so that used to have like 80 rebellion, now it's down to 14. If I take a look at my capital on Camdor, again, it's 11. It's meaningful. These guys are contributing a lot, but they're outnumbered. You know, they've got robots, they've got, you know, citizens who are perfectly content to be surviving. Or not surviving, but to have, like, you know, they're no longer enslaved. There's another species that we've conquered to be able to do that. And that's, I mean, the next time I go to war, part of that's not even going to be about taking territory. Part of it's just going to be about getting some more slaves, to be completely honest. The main focus of this, of course, was to be able to sort of defang these guys more than take the territory. But as it happens, the only way I could really defang them would be to take the territory. So okay, so we've made a sector with that one planet. Again, the main thing I want to be focusing on here is to make sure that it's not losing money, which it's not. It'll eventually build itself up. I'm not going to endow it with anything. It's going to have to just sort of pull itself up. We've you know, we've got our slaves. We've distributed them amongst the Empire so that they're not going to be causing too much trouble. We did get a spaceport as a result of this, so let's just take a quick look at what we got. That's an anchorage. So I'm actually going to switch this out into a shipyard just so I can have something to... The main reason I wanted to do that was because that'll give me sort of 3 hubs. So Camdecor is my main hub for shipbuilding. Darnama is going to be the western one, and the eastern one is going to be Eglor. So it does hurt me a little bit in terms of my overall naval capacity, but I make up for it in the sense that I'm now able to sort of distribute my fleets a little bit more sensibly. And I think I'm going to upgrade Faneov, and that's because it's got a wormhole, so I want some kind of a defensive structure there. As for Nihal, I think I'm gonna decommission the defensive platforms. As helpful as they were during that fight, they are a little expensive energy-wise, and I think I'm gonna be able to take care of the Zum entity for now. So the rest of us, I think I'm going to deal with the pirates with this fleet once it heals up, but I'm kind of tired of losing all my experienced ships to these conflicts. Okay, these guys, I want to finish exploring. Okay, I'm happy with that. They can finish exploring here, and I'm now going to... what I'm going to do now is I'm going to reorganize a little bit of my sort of scientific activity. All right, that's not a real one. Hey, the Eyes of Sin, how are you doing? Okay, let's try that again. So survey this. They may not arrive there in time, unfortunately, but don't have enough skill. Too bad. And my construction ships are idle, so let's find something for them to do. So Heodim is being taken care of. I kind of feel like I should have a colony ship. Yeah, I'll have to sort out what sector that goes to, but what's the closest area? Impan. I do kind of want to get my population up, so... And I don't have the minerals, so never mind. So we'll unpause and deal with the rest of this later. Oh yeah, sorry, I gotta finish the... Okay, survey is done. Finished construction. More fighting. Victory. We can now use the Despelation Casus Belli against the Tecarus Matrix. Of course, they're my allies, so that's okay. And looks like the Losvada League is doing non-aggression with the Zemmerpuck Covenant, and I believe the reason that they're doing that is they feel like they're going to be their guardians. So these guys here are apparently going to defend these guys up here. Maybe they will. But they are next door to the Devouring Swarm. Oh, you mean these robots, Theoden? Incidentally, I have got 2 people I would like to start playing Stellaris. Jeff, are you going to start playing Stellaris? There might be 3 people who I want to start playing Stellaris in here. So if you guys do have any questions about the game, or how or how I'm making particular decisions, I do love it when you ask questions. So, again, please don't be shy, because it actually helps me to cast when questions come up. Okay, so let's figure out... Okay, so I'm not going to retaliate by closing borders to these guys because they're authoritarian and militaristic. They may actually be able to get along with me. We've allowed you to move freely in our territory for too long. Today we draw the line. But we are going to look for democracy. Wherever we find democracy, we're going to say, we're closing the borders. You've got a funny looking forehead, sir. No, we already closed the borders on you. Probably because he's got a funny looking forehead. Med Karash? Eh, you guys seem okay. Zemmerpuck. Closed. the devouring lobsters, good to know. And you know what? I'm not at all worried about these guys. Oh, that's awesome when people tell me how to play this game. Alright, I think it makes sense to get rid of the mountain range. I mean, it's really expensive to do that, but the likelihood of me remembering that this thing's going to be done in like 2 years is pretty low. I'm finally going to build that drat. Finally want to build that zoo. Nope, still don't have the... So I'm just going to wait this out so that I can... Okay, so this is my alien zoo. Non-aggression packs. Okay. This might be a problem later on. The Glost Verni. I mean, so in reality, it's very unlikely that I'm ever actually going to have these guys open the borders again, because I am barbaric to spoilers. Like, the fact of the matter is that I'm not going to... I already have a -20 relations penalty with everyone. But it seems to me to be a little bit more... it's like, so I don't gain a whole lot by offending these guys. And on the likelihood that I wind up being sort of the enemy of their enemy, I might have a helpful alliance that comes up. Now, as it turns out, like with the Tecorus, that wasn't what happened. The main reason why I'm allied with these guys is mostly I want to demand vassalization on them when I can. But I don't think that's... I think that's a long way off. And I mean, it may also just eventually hit to a point where I'm like, okay, this is not worth it. Okay, so I messaged my ISP and they haven't gotten back to me in an hour. I think it's safe to say that I'm not going to hear back from them. And what else? I mean, I don't have the resources anyway, but planning-wise, so eventually what we're going to do here, you'll see why I got that slave processing. Well, that wasn't what it was called, but basically, one, it was a very cheap technology, but these help a lot. So in addition to the fact that I don't need to make this, like, you know, I call it a Sophie's choice. It really isn't, but, like, you know, I don't need to worry about this decision between, oh, do I go food or do I go minerals? Because in this case, like, I am a slow breeder, and I do actually want to improve the food. The reason why I went to the 5,000 so early, that was more so because I was a little concerned about the fact that these guys showed up. The VODs might actually say otherwise. But one thing that's nice is if you have a big food stockpile, it keeps you from, you know, giving a much larger and more scary tribute in the event that they ask for it. But the slave processing facility helps quite a bit. And let's just think about the kinds of tiles that'll help out on. So, you did hear me. You don't plan on playing this game anytime soon. What if I told you I would never play another Blizzard title until you committed to the glory that is Stellaris? I still need to convince Jess to play this, to be completely honest. But yeah, so there aren't any obvious tiles to do this on my homeworld, although it does make sense to do so because the like the main advantage for this would be that this tile, this tile, this tile, this tile start generating more minerals. Normally, this would also apply to food, but I currently have robots working them because we had the awakening. Now, Ampal. Yeah, there was the obvious one here. And you can sort of, again, see what the benefits would be. So energy tiles in that, there's no benefit. So this is arguably a planet where the gains aren't going to be felt quite as heavily. Again, you can never have enough minerals, and in my opinion, for this species, you can never have enough food either. I don't know how well I've taught you, though, Isaacson. I know you seemed a little cowed when when we tried to play, but I appreciate the sentiment. This planet, I really took it just because I needed more bodies. I need to figure out what I'm doing with these things. Purging is very tempting at this point. Well, we'll see. Okay, so if I start breeding my way out of this thing, we'll see what happens with the tile blockers. If I can get rid of toxic kelp, so much the better. If I can't get rid of toxic kelp, these guys are probably going to have to go. And I mean, I normally feel bad. I actually genuinely feel quite terrible when I do stuff like that in the game. But this is going to be another problem planet. So this is obviously the place for the slave processing facility. Thing is, these guys are really good at working energy tiles, so I can either make this a mining-focused planet, and I forego the 2+ bonuses. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna do that. I appreciate where you're coming from, very undelicated. The thing is, I have also been playing the game since it came out, and generally when it's the first thing that people say in a chat, it comes off as very obnoxious. So I appreciate that you still hung out here, but it may be different in other streams that you go on, but I get a lot of people telling me how to play any given game that I do. And my view is that that does not need to be explained in a set of rules, that generally when people go into streams, they don't tell people what to do as if it was a Twitch plays. So I think everybody, we have lesson learned. We can cool it on the comments. But yeah, I think that's where that's coming from, Varian. I am very well aware of most of the hotkeys inside of the game, but I mean, one of the things is that I tend to lose track of where empires are anyway. So whenever I want to take a look, a big one would usually be to take a look and see if anybody likes me. That's when I'll usually use the contacts, or relative power is also a really helpful breakdown. So whenever I want it in Excel, but generally I like the fact that, I mean, obviously I talk a lot, so usually I have a hand to do gestures with, and I pretty much just play the game with the mouse. And that's just the way that I play it. It's not for a lack of knowing what can happen in the game. It's just simply the fact that I have a way of playing the game, and I just don't really feel the need to, I don't really feel the need to change it.
Anomaly found.
All right. Despite the toxic content and high pressure of this planet's atmosphere, strong signs of life have been detected coming from the surface. That's 5%. I mean, I kind of by default usually just upgrade the mining facilities. As long as I'm breaking even on the energy, I always sort of figure that will sort itself out. That obviously is something that did come back to burn me a bit in the fact that I wasn't able to start the war the time that I wanted, and ultimately that wound up costing me a lot in terms of my my fleets. Like, I lost a bunch of experience because I just had a bunch of my fleets running in like lemmings to achieve those objectives. Now, again, we got a pretty big win against somebody who is really going to be the sort of the rival power in the region. So overall, it was worth it. But of course, if I hadn't been so short on energy, and this is more so at the start of the cast or the previous VOD that should be available on YouTube, the fact that I didn't have the energy to start that war when I could, this is one of the big things. It's like you kind of need to, ideally you think a couple of steps ahead. Failing that, once you find yourself in a difficult situation, you realize why that was what it was. So when I'm making this decision and saying is like, okay, I'm going to prioritize minerals because that will allow me to build more resources that will ultimately, you know, I can use those to buy buildings that will generate more energy or something like that. You know, I now know what that cost looks like if something unexpected happens. Of course, taking a look at the map right now, I don't have anybody sort of in the immediate area who's going to cause me some trouble. But I don't know. It's just one of these things where I tend to prioritize minerals, and I think this is just generally how people play it, because again, it just gives me more options. Whereas energy credits, there are times I need it. There are times where I've wanted them, specifically in this playthrough, times where I've wanted them and I didn't have them. But of course, I also have a couple of other options. Like right now, I am over my naval capacity, so I can either build up at the star bases, or I can cut ships, and that'll get my energy back in place. And of course, I can reorient some of my my infrastructure as well. So, although not toxic, did you know that Lemmings is, I believe, by the same company that originally made Grand Theft Auto, Jeff? I'm pretty sure it's the same group. They've undergone a couple of name changes now. Although toxic to most forms of known life, Holdabana 2 supports a thriving ecology within the high pressure of its atmosphere. Life here uses ammonia instead of water as a solvent, and is developed in ways that differ significantly from previously established ecological models. Its study would greatly benefit our knowledge of xenobiology. Fascinating. So that's much needed social research. Whether or not I'm actually able to take advantage of it is another question, because I am a little shy of resources. I thought there was another warp. Hang on. I could have sworn there was another gate in this area. Correct, Jesse Quill. Yes, now known as Rockstar North. Scottish, I believe. Alright, we have detected life signs coming from somewhere beneath the barren and lifeless surface of this planet. What manner of organism could possibly live here? Research it. Now, I mean, so one thing that is worth mentioning, like, these aren't quite as impressive as they should be. So, like, these are wormholes. Hopefully they don't go to each other, otherwise that's just depressing. I don't know if the game is actually enabled to do that. This warp gate is kind of okay. Oh, hang on. No, I was mistaken. I actually have two wormholes, not warp gates. Okay, so these things can go to anywhere. Where the hell is that other gate? There's one here. Okay, I'm just going to accept that I'm going mad. Looks like the Zum have their own pirates, but I really need to get this thing healed and upgraded. I need to get this thing taken out because this is a nice source of 9 energy. And yeah, at some point I'm going to claim Heodem, but I kind of... First thing I want to do is basically get myself back to a place where I'm able to... I'm actually able to sort of, like, have... The thing that I hate being, the position I hate being in is when I'm, I have some, like here, you know, I've got an idle ship waiting to do something, complete. And I don't have enough resources to keep all of my ships working at the moment. Now there are reasons for that, because I'm undertaking some fairly large projects all at once. So, you know, I wait for the month to take over and I should be able to handle it, but... It's just one of these cases where, especially if you don't have a lot... Oh, hang on. Alright, that's not surprising. I'd love to deal with this, but again, this fleet needs to be healed and upgraded before I consider anything else. My science ships are going to be my next sort of my next priority, because there's obviously some stuff that I want to get down here. Eventually, I'm going to have to try and find some proper borders with sort of these eastern areas. I don't think I'm going to try expanding southward, and there's two reasons for that. Number one, the more that the Skrek Reavers can deal with these two guys, the better. And the further away I'm from the Vunakon host, the better. Now, of course, the drawback is if these guys don't get their act together, then the host is going to eat them, and I'm going to have an even bigger problem with the Devouring Swarm. Of course, hopefully by then, the map is like half purple. But I'd prefer to stay out of the fights that I want right now are with the Lozvada League, the Zum Entity, maybe the Tecarus Matrix if they start looking at me funny. This Fallen Empire is not going to be a problem for now. Of course, they're not going to like my authoritarian ways when they awaken. But yeah, so for most of these guys, I do sort of outweigh them at the moment. But I have been having a problem kind of getting I've been having problems getting star bases up. And then two, when I do get my star bases up, I don't put that many anchorages in. So what this is translating into is a general weakness as far as my fleets are concerned, especially relative to my size, because really what I've got is I should basically have about 40 fleet power taking care of this whole area here. And maybe like an east fleet and a west fleet, or not 40 fleet power, but 40 command points. 20 each isn't a lot, so that's going to be another problem that I need to deal with. Growing the population is a great way of dealing with that, but again, I'm at a point where I've put a lot of infrastructure in place for getting my minerals up, but I'm paying it back in transferring ships, and again, because we were in a big war, I kind of need to get everything back online, and basically making sure that all of these construction ships are doing something productive each round. So again, we'll get over this, but this is kind of the phase where I need to be managing things a little bit better and getting myself back on track. Right, some kind of burrowing silicon-based life form inhabits a vast network of tunnels beneath the barren surface of Holdabana 1. As best as we can tell, these creatures feed off rocks, and there is evidence to suggest that they possess a rudimentary form of intelligence. Their tunneling efforts have shuffled large amounts of valuable minerals to the surface. So again, these are really only good if I actually claim those planets, which, again, of all of the Fallen Empires, this is going to be the one that is the smallest problem to deal with. And again, it's very tempting to go close to them to get these megastructures. How do you build a starbase? Excellent question, Jess. And a very important one for the new patch. So I know you originally started playing before Apocalypse, so this has changed. I'll just work through this anomaly and then I'll explain it because it's relatively straightforward. Colossal impact crater hints that something big collided with the surface of this moon once. So we'll research that. It's a 5-skill scientist. There's not a lot that they're going to gain off of that, but they're in the area, so. It used to be that you... Actually, it's just completely changed. I think the best way for me to explain is the smallest to the biggest. So every area that I've claimed, every purple area, now has an outpost. So outposts used to be free, now they cost 1 energy. And whenever you want to claim a new area, you use one of your construction ships. And there's 2 options that you have. I usually like right-clicking, which I know really bothers a lot of people, but I don't care. Another thing that's actually worth mentioning too, especially when it's it's not specifically I learned how to play Stellaris, but it's the most common bit of feedback that I get. So I'm not going to suggest that you guys might want to play this way, but for the purposes of explaining a game, it's very helpful the more visual elements that you can put on, which means that you'll notice for games in general, I don't use the hotkeys very often because those are not the best way to visually demonstrate it. I know the strength, obviously, of the cast is in the voice, not in the showing. But there is definitely something nice in terms of being able to show a very direct path. And I just have not been able to find it as effective to say, push Q to do X, push Q to do X. Probably not the most clear line, but I think that, QED. But anyways, so you take one of your construction ships for an area. This has to be explored, so I would not be able to do this for, let's say, well, Tazi's probably the best example because I at least know that it exists. In this case, it's not fully surveyed, and of course, I also don't have 309.572. Well, actually, it's probably 315 is probably the actual cost. So you have to have explored it. To build an outpost, you need 100 minerals, and I think the cost is actually more than 52 influence, but I've gained some bonuses that make that a little bit less expensive. Now, once you have an outpost, that's going to be costing you 1 energy, but it's not the strongest thing that you can build. You have a star-based capacity, and basically so you start off with a base value of 3. The calculation is showed in the game. Generally, if there's a question about something, if you mouse over it, it'll give you an overview. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to answer everything for you, but it gives you a fighting chance. My population gives me 1, and then own systems give me the additional 3 for the total of 7. So if I want to upgrade one of them, I keep in mind that it'll cost 1 energy to maintain. So that means that for each starport, you're paying 2 energy. You pay 300 minerals, and then you hit the upgrade button, and that will get you something like this. This is the one that I started off with. Now, you gain modules and buildings. So once you upgrade a outpost to a starport, you're going to gain 2 modules, 1 building, and you can make it anything that you want. A shipyard is going to be what you can build ships from, probably makes sense, and it will. You'll also be able to upgrade your shipyards. The other thing that you can build, so the thing that's really interesting about this mechanic now is that your different starports are going to have different purposes. So my shipyards are at my capital, the east and the west of my empire. And because I was running into some energy problems, I built trading hubs. This was actually the AI that built this, and I replaced the shipyard here. And the main purpose for this is that I want to have places where my ships can be based, where there might be problems that emerge. And probably not surprisingly, I've built crew quarters there because the upkeep for ships that are at those starports are decreased by 25%. So basically, this is where I station my navies. But you don't always have to build shipyards here. This one is based totally on infrastructure. So I built a trading hub and an anchorage. An anchorage will increase my naval capacity by 4, and the trading hub gives me 6 energy credits. The 6 energy credits comes from the fact that I built an off-world trading company. Normally, it just gives you 4. You can also build an equivalent for the off-world trading company for anchorages. So the idea here is that you actually need to make some decisions in terms of what you use these things for. I feel like I should have had more options. Oh, that's right, I haven't researched all of it yet. So if you want to go more offensive, you can do basically kinetic weapons or missile weapons. I already have the trading hub and the anchorage you've already seen. And the buildings themselves are also very interesting. So like hydroponics will give you additional food. Resource silo will give you a bonus to your cap. You expanded your borders and met a hostile fleet. Are they coming after you, or are they just sitting there? Because there's hostile fleets, like... There's hostile fleets here, there's hostile fleets all around me, but they're staying put, so it's not always the worst thing to happen. Anyways, I'm going to unpause the game, but you will notice that you can actually upgrade your starports even further, but you do need the technology. So I've gained the technology for starports, I just don't have... Oh, hang on, this is the wrong one. I don't have it. I think I'm going to be researching it later. It'll tell you whether or not you have it, but it costs more. You're currently trying to evade. The game has been redesigned just so that if you do encounter something nasty, it's less likely to wipe you out. I think you'll be pleased to hear that.
Star system charted.
I think I'm going to continue to push out. We'll go to Gelthram. Oh, the Hapslav warriors are sighted. For several months now, we have received scattered reports of small numbers of alien mercenaries and privateers operating on the frontiers of our space. They call themselves the Hapslav and are apparently exiles from nomadic warrior culture inhabiting the overcrowded space stations in and around the Lusage black hole system. Their passage near our space proceeded without incident, but they warned us against trespassing in the Lusage black hole. There is no Hapslav central government to speak of, but their various factions are engaged in constant infighting and often launch raids against neighboring star systems. Indeed, given their vast population and space-based production capability, the Hapslav would likely be a significant galactic power if they ever stopped killing each other. Attempt to contact them. Hey! More Dwamaks! What do you want, foolish Dwamak? What happened to make your face look like that? Reactor accident? Vacuum exposure? Hey! Look at you! We're the Hapslav. We hunt Dwamak. If you come to Hapslav turf, we make Dwamak stew. Not good for you, yes? Hey! Perhaps you know other Dwamaks. Perhaps you want them to be Dwamak stew. This can be arranged. Hapslav not above fighting for Dwamaks against other Dwamaks, if price is right. So they're next door to the people I don't like, which is good. And in the meantime, I'm just gonna, again, I don't even care what these things are building. I just want them to be building. A massive crater on Ginham 4A appears to be the result of a collision with a starship. From the size of the crater, we suspect that the ship, exiting a hyperlane at maximum velocity, rammed the moon for reasons unknown roughly 10,000 years ago. The ISS Aiku picked up residual subspace echoes near the crash site reminiscent of a collapsed hyperparticulate field. As the ship itself disintegrated on impact, the theory could not be verified. All right, I'm going to go for the research station. One thing I do try to do where I can't... Actually, it's energy. Change my mind. I do try to prioritize based on the highest numbers, so 4 total science, especially one that I currently need is social, but I am also a little shy on energy right now. So we'll say remarkable, gained physics research. And we seem to be okay as far as things that are currently being occupied. So, Nihal, what's going on here? Let's get you back to the capital. Because I don't believe Nihal has a...
Construction
they don't have a... Okay. These are pirates that are still going to be a bit of a problem for me. But not for long.
Construction complete. Construction complete.
Okay, so we gained a bunch of surface construction. Let's take a quick look. We can do some upgrades, so we'll get those taken care of first.
Construction complete.
I missed some event.
Construction complete.
An ancient orbital shipyard drifts in silence above this world. It has suffered significant battle damage, and entire sections of the facility are missing.
Construction complete.
I take it something good happened to you in the game, Jess? We'll upgrade the farm. Okay, lost another scientist to old age. So I do have a fairly good, sort of bench as far as scientists are concerned. They've generally, so as one group has aged, there's usually level 3 or 4 to take their place. So we're going to continue on in that path, take the level 5s and put them in place. I haven't run into too many situations where I want my my science ships to research something that they haven't been able to. It has happened occasionally. The Genius is really tempting to go for, but I know that they're not going to be in the lab for a while. And they're 51 compared to a Voidcraft. Let's risk it with the Genius. They already have their orders. Okay. Let's see if we can... Yeah, it's too expensive. Okay, well, we'll at least get this guy working on social research. Mulgaron, as much as I like research... Oh, okay, well, can't get them to research anything because I don't have the money for it. More
Star
death!
system charted.
Alright. So I was talking about that good bench that I have. Don't anymore. But we do have money to hire more researchers. So you know what? I'm just going to bite the bullet and say that this guy's not going to be learning as fast. And the Aiku will now be piloted by somebody who is good at survey speed. So that actually turned out not too bad, all told. So what are we looking at here? Alright, actually we're pretty good for exploration. I think I'm still... What I am going to do now is I am going to be looking into territory that's close to these guys. I just want to see if I'm missing out on any good planets. That wasn't the right way to do that. Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't show you the other button that you could press. There's a... Basically in these areas here, there's a button that you can... there's a button you can press to make your star bases. You can do a similar thing with survey, so if you really want to click like this. But I don't find it that inconvenient. It's not an optimal route, but it'll kind of tell me some things that I wanted to know. So, all right, Hayden, bro. Let's get you. I guess it's only science now, right? Yeah, because I'm gonna colonize that planet. I think. Yeah, this is the obvious place for him to research. We'll combine these fleets. While conducting their survey of Prythene 4, the ISS Ba Sing detected the remains of an automated shipyard in orbit. It is at least 1,000 years old and seems to have been subjected to a heavy missile barrage, but one of its manufacturing bays is still in working condition. Science officer Ati IOG is confident that power can be restored to the shipyard, but it would be a significant project. Okay, so this is for a construction ship. Thing is, I'm not really sure it's worth it yet. If I get... So there is an argument for moving in there. Like, we do have a... I mean, it's a size 12 continental world, so I'm not going to, like, jump for joy over it, but there are those nice structures.
Complete. And
definitely nobody else is going to be claiming that. The Fallen Empire is going to be chilling for a bit.
Construction complete. Vessels upgraded.
So I think I will eventually work my way towards that, but it is going to take me a while, so...
Construction complete.
Remember what I was saying about the fact that I couldn't get a good routine in for... It's tempting to go, oh my god. I'm going to start running out of energy credits. Okay, you know what? I need to sit back and smell the roses for a little bit. So my northern expansion is just sort of this continuous movement upward so that I could eventually claim those planets. Although I think there's also a good argument to say, if not now, then when? I am giving up the potential benefits of going eastward. I don't actually really know what those are, whereas to the north there's some very obviously good systems, like Enim, Beta Caselli. I'll be able to add to my population, so that'll help me out with my star bases. Yeah, I think we'll at least touch the edges of the galaxy, and then we can start thinking about whether I go left or right. Alright, in the meantime, pirate fleet's still causing problem. These guys are ready to fight, so... These guys almost... I think these guys are going to wipe themselves out on my bases. But we'll finally be able to get rid of Ardacod. I might even actually plug up this hole. The original reason why I didn't take that was because I was short on influence. Sorry, I've got an election going on. I can't unpause. The original reason I didn't take that area was because there was an election going on. And I was happy enough taking Khan Viab, but the fact that there are pirates spawning out of there, you know, I don't mind plugging it up so that obviously this is still going to be a problem. I need to actually, what's this guy up to? So he's surveying Wyatter. Okay, well, get him to do some research, survey, and we'll figure out what to do afterwards. Similar story with them. That must have been ancient mining drones. Anyways, again, we'll deal with that at the time. Buildings. I do want to build a slave processing facility. I just don't think I have the money for it yet. Yeah, 250. Okay, the Zom doesn't like me. I already knew that. A new faction has been gaining traction in the internal political landscape of the Zukakan Cabal, led by scientist Lishmi Shash. They call themselves the Electoral Freedom Watch. I don't like the sound of that. Their members work for equality and justice for all denizens of our empire. Okay. We've evaluated Warlord as a candidate for joining the Zoment. Oh yeah, because our guy's dead. Sadly, we must inform you that membership requires a rudimentary brain. Okay, so this is what happens when you have too many slaves. So the fact that they remember the Electoral Freedom Watch, there's your freedom right there, jackass. Oh, still have slavery problems, huh? On Ampaldir Prime. Troublemakers, eh? Welcome to slavery. Still not enough, huh? Okay. Ain't nothing a little army can't solve. Sadly, I can't enslave you guys yet. So instead... Oh, that's right, I have robots. Okay, where can I enslave these jackasses? Peace and order I'm okay with. Okay, let's go back to Impan. Troublemaker is on this. Okay, we'll get rid of this one. So Camdor I can't. Nihal. Problem solved. And Baldir. I'm pretty sure if I get one of these guys taken care of, we'll be good. Oh, hang on. Nope, everybody who needs to be enslaved is enslaved, so I need to come up with a way of making them actually happy. But I don't want to do that, so we're putting an army in place instead. Order has been restored. Warlord's done. They're currently electing. I don't have the influence for it, but what are the possibilities? Unity output good. Leadership experience gain not as crazy. And I'll need to... Ooh. It could lose a good scientist. And it will improve the Xenophile ethics. Okay, so I really hope Ratch Trop doesn't get in. Everybody else I'm pretty happy with. So I'll abstain from interfering. Lonnie Roko Key, previously Admiral on the Mipsy Armada, which is fine because I want to consolidate that Armada. And, well, I mean, skills bonus, not great. Fertility Preacher, so bonus to food, that's nice. And Starbase upgrade costs, which I may or may not wind up... Oh! Do you cover yourself? Why do you cover yourselves in strange textiles? Are you hiding something, or are you simply ashamed of your unfortunate appearance? Okay, well, that was probably longer than it needed to be, but...
Star system charted.
By the way, I will admit, Jess, I'm very happy that you were amused by the way I dealt with factions that I disagree with.
Construction complete. Construction complete.
Okay, let's deal with the construction ships.
Star system charted.
4 minerals is nothing to be sad about.
Construction complete.
And I don't quite have enough minerals for this yet, so let's see what we're looking at. I think we'll go for the physics research. Oh, looks like the Zum took care of the base. Not so good. We received a communique from a previously unknown spacefaring empire that called themselves the Hegemony of Yabar. They claim to have learned of our existence by listening in on the communications of another empire that we are in contact with. Xenophobic isolationists and their spiritual to boot. I speak on behalf of the Hegemony of Yabar, and I come with a message for your depraved species. As long as you stay out of our internal affairs and treat our great leader, Emperor Poto I, with reverence, there may yet be peace between our nations. Well, we serve the warlord Lonnie Roko Key. Alright, how about you land instead of just hovering like the exact opposite of a buffalo log. Gunpowder! Gunpowder has been discovered on the primitive alien civilization of Krakaw's Nest. This has revolutionized warfare, with large cannons rendering many of their citadels obsolete. The use of explosives have also benefited many engineering projects, as troublesome obstacles can now be more easily removed. Even now, their chemists are experimenting with new creative applications for this invention. We shall see how they use this technology. Maybe they will blow up a pyramid or two.
Charted.
Or not. Well, that was a short fight. Okay, so the question is, do I want to have a big consolidated navy? And I think the answer is no. So we'll enter the orbit there. And I'm actually going to move... No, I do feel like I should keep a fleet at the capital. So the western reaches are going to be ignored for a little while, unfortunately. Okay, so let's take care of Shawl now. We'll start with the social research because we're still behind on that. These guys, do I have enough to... Okay, let's build a lot of mining stations. And we've got one more here. So as you can see, I'm a little bit back into... I'm a little back in shape as far as getting stuff done at a bit of a faster clip. Now, Fainov, I would normally want to have some kind of a weapon in place, but we've already decided that's not going to be the case with Impan, so I think I'm just going to make this an area for... I'm going to make it an area for my my anchorages and try and get this number up a little bit higher. If I build 2 anchorages in Fainov, I'm actually going to have... I'm going to have enough to sort of maintain this this naval capacity, which means that my maintenance costs will go down. I should actually consider... Okay, so I've got 3 destroyers, 18 corvettes, and here I've got 7 destroyers and 11 corvettes. So that's unbalanced. I should consider it. Though rightfully belongs to us, the Zum entity has audaciously laid claim to Khan Viab,
Construction
the Visigar, and the Karathor. And, okay, well, you know what? You can just keep using up your influence like that, my friend. And as soon as I get, you know what? I can actually just go and despoil the crap out. No, I can't.
Technology secured.
In 7 years, I am going to despoil the crap out of you, sir. All right, so we've got our antimatter missiles. Advanced missiles equipped with very powerful antimatter warheads, a new and improved guidance system that gives them a better chance of finding their targets. So I can get cruisers, not that I really have the naval capacity for it. It's also very expensive. Or we can gain the machine template system to improve robot modification. Or we can take advantage. I think I'm going to follow this rule that I usually have. If I don't know what to do, I'm going to go for the cheapest technology. We'll get an additional 2 star bases before too long. Mulgaron's finished, so the question is, do I want to build another star base or do I want to build out my infrastructure? I think I'm going to build out another star base. And we'll build out on Shoal. So like I was saying, I'm sort of back in a state now where I'm kind of consistently building up the things that I want. I'm taking advantage of through hard work and experience, the warlords gotten that extra experience that I knew that they were going to. Our future lies in a sea of stars. Okay, and there's the toxic kelp. We can avoid purging the species for another day. So what I'm going to be focused on right now is just doing things like building that slave processing facility. So I'm going to wait on my 250 minerals. That's actually going to be improving the output of several tiles, so that's a pretty high priority.
Construction complete.
Less obvious what I'm going to do here. I think I'm going to just go for the power plant. Debatable whether or not I should have done that, but I'll live with it. Here, fairly obvious choice of minerals. This will eventually be a slave processing plant, but I believe I need to upgrade the
construction complete.
The base, and I'll build the hydroponics farm in anticipation. All right, so this is going to be telling me that I can build something here, but that's by choice that I'm not doing that. So, oh, and our science ship is free. So let's see. Okay, so my existing plans, he's doing his thing, landed. Okay, so they're going to be taking care of that area. Get you to take a look at Alfeca. And after that, I think I'm going to get them to... I mean, this is a potential expansion area. It doesn't put me on like a collision course with any enemy civs, but that's not necessarily a bad thing either. Okay, we'll get you on a research station duty. That's all taken care of, so we'll go for Yanda's, even though this will technically give me a little bit better infrastructure, but mostly I'm just going to wind up doing this big snake all the way back to Ilfor. Alright, so we've got Mirik. Yeah, there was another gateway. I'm not losing my mind. Okay, so I'll build a mining station. Again, as long as the Zum... as long as the Zum remain inferior in fleet power and technology, I don't care that their naval capacity is higher than mine. And the whole point of that early war against them was to make sure that they weren't able to expand out too much. Now they do have an ally, so these guys are actually able to expand out and not have to worry about fighting each other. But I will also be able to gobble them up at my leisure. The Tassergoid is an extremely lethal predator that stalks the dense jungles of thriving green at night, paralyzing its prey with electric shocks before sucking their brains out with its tube-like mouth. Unfortunately, 3 of the crew members of the ISS Ba Sing were lost to these creatures before a specimen could be secured. The Museum of Exobiology on Camdor will rename one of its wings after these brave officers to honor their sacrifice. So that's a mission that I've been on for a while, but it's fallen by the wayside just so I can get some of these tasks done.
Construction complete.
So this guy is taking care of the north, and I think this guy will start taking care of the east. So let's start
Vessels
with Sizar.
upgraded.
Okay, we've upgraded our fleets, or we should.
Vessels upgraded.
I'll take the Eye of Hawking. I'm trying to do this... I'm trying to keep this piracy risk at a minimum. So piracy risk is caused by bordering systems that are not controlled by any galactic power. It is reduced by having a contiguous empire and by upgrading star bases. So no upgrades to do for my star bases yet, but I am able to,
Construction.
you know, I am able to plug up a few of the gaps here.
Star system charted.
So basically what I'm going to be doing for the next little while is just a strategy of expanding to one area, building up the infrastructure, expanding to the next. And I'm just going to continue on that path. I do eventually want to claim Heodim. Now the problem is I'm still not sure. I think what I'm going to do is I think I'll make Eglor the capital of the Eastern Empire. Trista 2 is very tempting. But it's also going to take me a long time to expand out there. Actually, now that I think of it, so if I take Heodim and then move out to Tristra, I did say I wasn't going to expand south that much further except to get to an additional gateway. Okay, we've got our FTL inhibitors. Gravity well projectors can be used to create localized pockets of space where safe entry into hyperspace is impossible. The immense power requirements and the size of the projectors prohibits their use on anything smaller than a starbase. And I believe those are automatically applied now. I think... So I wish I remembered what kind of technology my enemies have, so... They are shield heavy. And I don't think I get to see these guys. We'll go for the disruptor. Although, in honesty, I don't actually have that strong of a beam weapon myself. Right. Like I said, we're just kind of pursuing this very straightforward policy of move out a tile, build up the infrastructure, move out a tile, build out the infrastructure. It's a way I can sort of keep my mineral resources intact. And it will also allow me to do this little move of colonizing Heodim. And I believe it was Impran that had the colonists I wanted. So here...
Technology secured.
We'll go for Heodim Prime here.
Star system charted.
This will be kind of my breadbasket, so I don't quite need it right now that I'm at 5,000, but obviously all the surplus that I have will go towards improving my population growth, and if I start colonizing a little bit more aggressively, that will pay off. I've got my toxic kelp, so again, I don't need to commit genocide. Given enough processing power, network sensors, and distributed stations, even the ocean's currents can be managed to a fine level of control. Very tempting to do interstellar campaigns because I was running into war exhaustion problems, but I'm going to take a minute here and see whether or not dense jungle, or I think it's volcanoes, are going to be what I have to get rid of. But let's make sure that the dense jungle isn't going to cause me any particular grief. Yeah, volcanoes it is. So, Niall, let's start by... We still don't have a Unity producing area. Don't quite need to... Well, you know what? We'll get rid of one, just because I feel generous. I think the rest of these can wait.
Construction complete.
All right, so Heodim's going to be a pretty big hit on my energy for a while, and then I'm going to need to make a sector, but I'm fairly certain that I'm going to make the sector on Heodim and then just sort of blob it out like either
Construction complete.
So much construction. Okay. I have Hawking's done, so we'll move out to Lambda Serpentis, and again, that's just to kind of keep... It's mostly just to keep the borders intact. So as much as I would like to take Rogilla, I haven't explored it yet. I'm going to need to dedicate... I'm going to basically... eventually going to press gang this guy into that job, but it's a little bit of a higher priority for me to see what I'm giving up by pursuing this. I've received a communique from a previously unknown spacefaring empire that call themselves the Ulri Assembly. They claim to have learned of our existence by listening in on the communications of another empire that we are in contact with. I bring greetings from the Reverend Elder Glump, the elected leader of the Ulri Assembly. We believe in the right of all sapient beings to fulfill their individual spiritual needs. We hope that you share in the sentiments. Our warriors salute that sentiment by aiming at it.
Construction complete.
Yeah, curiously, they were horrified by what they saw. So, Yanda's was pretty easy to take care of. Again, I'd normally like to take something like Borbagon, but again, I just want to do this big sort of snake route. Observing the massive asteroid, Leet 3PO. Oh, okay. Class 12 asteroid orbits this planet. Small planetoid's orbit appears too stable for a presence to be a natural occurrence. 5%. And Leet 3PO, further investigation is warranted. 3 and 3, so 20% chance of failure, which is perfectly acceptable. Caesar. Let's move on to Strom, or I would if I had the... I don't have the influence. Okay, so much for my snake plans. I know I've been paused for a while. We're probably pretty much done for the cast, to be honest. I know this particular timer is going to say that it's early, but I had about an hour ahead of time struggling with my ISP. So, okay, let's take a quick second. The most improvement that I need to make is actually going to be down in the south here. So we'll move, actually, you know what, we can move and say research there. So I think I'm going to reduce it. So Lambda Serpentis, I will expand. Once I build those up, I'm going to double back and we'll plug in this hole. The real challenge now is that I actually don't have that much infrastructure to build out. So I think things like Alpheka, I might even do some things like, you know, take my fleet and, you know, wipe out these mining drones just so I can, you know, I can clear out a little bit of space for myself. Not a whole lot of point to doing that in the south here, because that's just giving these guys more room to grow. Yeah, they haven't been building any more planets or any more bases on planets. Okay, I'm ready to upgrade this building, so I should maybe hold off on any construction. All right, well, we'll unpause it for a little while longer. We'll at least maybe get this upgrade underway. Any remaining questions while I was going through? You guys were actually quite good at
star system charted.
Asking some interesting ones, because you're right, I've never actually gone into how the colony system is, or how the starbase system is new. I just kind of started doing it, but it's not necessarily intuitive if you started learning the game one way. One thing I am eventually going to do, so Fainov I need to add another anchorage to. Can't quite afford it yet because I spent it on other things. But I now have 2 more bases that I can build. So one will be on Heodim. I think the other one I'm going to dedicate to Emulgaron, the gate. It's not a bad idea to build star bases on gates just because they are defensive. They're sort of defensive structures. They give you a bit of an augment to your military. So, you know, if something nasty comes through, I don't think an enemy can actually come through a gateway. I think you control them. And of course, this is going to be a little bit dumb because they're right beside each other, but what are you going to do, right? That's my current plan. And then I'm just hoping that by taking more planets, I'm going to be able to expand that. Yeah, I've got room for 3. So Emulgaron, Heodim, I'll have to decide with the rest. The drawback is, of course, I talk about getting these choke points, but I haven't actually really taken advantage of my ability to actually use them. And I mean, that's just the way it's turned out. I do tend to like using my star bases for productive uses, but especially when I've got something like the Zum entity and the Lozvata League allied, I am probably going to want to consider. I'm probably going to want to consider how I've structured my defenses and whether or not I want to build anything a little bit harder for them to to deal with. Of course, I can do the same thing that I did with the Zum earlier, which was to take something like Nihal and build a bunch of defensive platforms to act as a deterrent. That was one of the things that prevented me from getting too lost in that war. But again, they might have some nasty... Well, no, not really. They only have 1,000 fleet strength. So combining their 1,000 fleet strength with their base of 498, I could actually take one of my like side fleets and still be able to handle them. Wouldn't be wise. It's actually better if I, if I go in with a stronger force. But mining your own business. Deep within the crevice of the giant asteroid Leet 3PO, we have found something astonishing. There is mining gear attached to the rock, digging itself into the vast depth of the asteroid. It stands abandoned with no sign of who placed it there. If we can stop the machine, we might be able to learn something about the technology used to build it, but we must hurry before random debris crushes it. Alright, let's see where this is. I mean, it's close to where I am. It's the closest construction ship. I'm hoping the fact that I'm stopping... I hope the fact that I'm actually finishing building the thing doesn't wind up making me lose
Construction complete.
Oh, the Zum really want my territory. So if I were to go to war with them...
Construction complete.
I'm actually not quite sure where I'd want to set the new borders. For some reason, someone has towed an asteroid into a stable orbit around Seozuno 3. The massive engine sections and braking thrusters can still be found on the surface, although they have long since been rendered inoperable. Whoever did this also mined the asteroid for minerals, but these operations were seemingly abandoned shortly after they began. Okay, so build mining stations in Halvam.
Construction complete.
Yeah, this actually wound up being a pretty good location. I guess it makes sense though, because that was mining drones that were taking that area. So, now we do have Trauma Prayer. I don't really have any close. I don't really have any close science ships to
Construction complete.
research that. It would be good if I had a science ship there because I'd be able to take a look at that gate. But let's make you research here.
Construction complete. Construction complete.
Problem solved. And after he's done the drill rampage, we can build a starbase to close up the gap. A good day's work, all told. Alright, he'll move on to building energy. So you can see the big drop in my energy. That's from the colony ship, which is on its way to Heodum. I'm also going to wind up with a little bit of difficulty when it comes to... not enough influence, unfortunately. Well, we'll move along. Okay, we've got the Ulri... Okay, so these guys are signing a few too many friendships for my liking. I'm hoping I'm able... So the best case would be if I can somehow get myself to a point where they're inferior to me. I mean, if it has to come down to it, I can invade them again, but that's not ideal. It'd probably be better to cut down the Zum, to be honest. So yeah, the best case, of course, is if I can vassalize these guys. But I don't think that's as likely to happen.
Tile blocker cleared.
We're really hurting for influence, but I've maxed my rivals. The only thing is if I got rid of that protection of the Techaris. Okay, so we've got some new technology, rewritable assembly templates that allow for the creation of bespoke synthetic worker designs. All right, so I can start building my starholds. That's actually one of my cheaper options right now. I think I'm going to do that because that'll help me with my naval capacity, which is definitely a bottleneck to my expansion. Let's also create a template. So these guys are just mechanical and robots, so I can make them... I wish I knew what planet they were on. Oh wait, there's only one possible place they could be. That's where the AI's been building them. So they're on an energy and they're on a food tile. I think what I'll do is I will make them easier to maintain. So efficient processors, robot upkeep, -10. That or a lower consumer goods cost. No, I need more energy, so lower robot upkeep. Should be cheap to do at the beginning. I should actually start taking advantage of that myself. Let's just see if there's anywhere... I mean, we could definitely build a robot here. Get an upgrade in. It's an obvious place for a robot. So one of the big things about building robots is that, I mean, as long as you have a tile that they can
Star system charted.
They can work well, which at the beginning is like minerals and food that doesn't...
Special project.
There's not a really big reason not to take advantage of them. So we managed to stop the excavator before it broke down. It's a remarkable piece of machinery with a smooth surface covered in diamonds. At first glance, the whole drill seems like one solid piece, but it's simply so well put together that you cannot notice the grooves and joints. Our engineers will be able to reverse engineer some of this technology, and so we've gained deep core mining as a research option and 20% of the progress towards it. Okay. Yeah, we'll wait on this. And all right, I think I'm gonna call it for tonight. I'll try and park my playthrough into some interesting locations. So. Everybody's doing something productive. So what are my main goals for... Okay, so actually let's start at the beginning. So where did we start at this? Well, we had very few energy resources. And we had a potential rival in the form of the Lozvara League. So we dealt with that basically by taking a war at a time that maybe wasn't ideal for us, but was one that we were sort of able to we were able to win because we were able to focus on the goal. And so what we've done now is we've restricted them to either expanding down to this area where they're fighting with the Techaris Matrix and will ultimately be contending with an authoritarian regime where they're egalitarian, or they're going to be bumping up against their allies. Now, the Zum have been our long-standing rivals. They're still equivalent power to us, but they have inferior technology and fleet power. It's actually only their naval capacity that they're beating us with. Now, we can't vassalize either of them because they aren't weak enough yet. And likewise, we can't vassalize the Techaris because there's not, or rather turn them into a protectorate because they we're basically still 24 away from the modifier, and To be completely honest with you, I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to make up that that difference. It's probably just going to be through advanced technology, but we'll see. So we achieved our goal. It was pretty costly as far as manpower and resources are concerned. So a lot of the remaining time has been about rebuilding the empire. We're obviously fairly well situated as far as size. And then, I mean, so looking at victory, 6 out of the 98 planets required. So we're not really, you know, they're actually not that much different from the Zoom. I think they've got about 6, don't they? Nope, only 3 now. I've been rather good at cutting them down, it turns out. Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of space, but we don't have a lot of planets, as it turns out. Now, there'll be some ways that we can get around this. So there's actually some really good examples of some ways that we can make life a little bit easier for ourselves. I can start sending robots to colonize planets like Escant or Korgos. Now, the reason I'm not really doing that right now, so we've got desert and savanna world. So there's a bit of a plan in place for that because I am a slaving, despoiler. These guys, I think, take the same territory I do. Arid world. Okay, so let's see. So these the Endura League, who are egalitarians. They're also egalitarians. So yeah, this is the real trick. There's a side that makes me just want to demand vassalization from them. But like one of the things I can do is I can go raiding and I can actually take up a bunch of their population and dump them on planets like Korgos to be slaves. And then I actually have a fairly, I have a fairly reasonably, I have a reasonable way of kind of, like I can, the slaves can breed, obviously, and all of a sudden now I've incorporated the ability to colonize a new type of planet, which there's actually a few in my borders. Good to know. Beetlejuice is Tundra. I don't know if we have anybody who's... Let's see what these guys are. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, at some point I think I am going to want to go out east. It'd be nice if these guys could sort of envelop the Skrek, just so that they act as a little bit of a buffer, then I can move in on them. But basically, the nice thing about this is whether I directly vassalize them or whether I just go on these raids, there are some ways that I can get those pops to work tiles for me. So even if I engage in sort of these small little border skirmishes, which just allow my fleets to go on these population raids, so this bombing option, the raiding option. Raiding bombardment targets enemy population centers with specialized raiding craft that scoop up their people and bring them back to our worlds to put them to work. We'll abduct pops when possible instead of killing them. So the nice thing about this would just be, if I think I'm in a position where I'm actually able to cause some trouble on these guys, I'll just quickly send a couple of droids out to colonize a world where I can put those populations, and then go to town basically. Presumably the AI will be smart enough to know to put them on the tiles which they can survive on. So that's kind of trying to play to my pirate strengths. The problem, of course, is I've been neglecting my eastward expansion, and I am a little starved for influence at the moment. So we'll see whether or not that works out. We're sort of back on our feet as far as infrastructure is concerned. We're doing all right for minerals. We are starting to flag a little bit as far as energy credits are concerned, but remember we've got Conviab, which is going to give me 9 to improve. Also, if we find any Betharium, I think we haven't researched the technology for that yet, but that'll be another way we can sort of supercharge our energy. And then more importantly, just colonizing more worlds. I am a little bit behind on that. But it looks like everybody else is sitting at about 6 planets as well. So the nice thing is that my most immediate neighbors are not really threats to me. When I take a look at the overall standings, we do have some equivalent Well, okay, so the equivalent ones are the Zom entity, which I know is inferior fleet power-wise. Same with the Losvada. The Losvada actually ranks pathetic. Devouring Swarm is still inferior to me. Yeah, so for pound, it looks like we're actually... It looks like we're in pretty decent shape. Obviously, there's the, there's the Fallen Empire, but I don't really plan on... I don't really plan on fighting with them. So I think what this really just comes down to is I'm not going to be getting into any fights unless I choose them. And I can basically afford to... The one I need to worry about are actually my rivals because they are allied with each other. But even then, I think there's going to be logistical problems for their fleets to become a combined menace. I think probably what I would wind up doing is I'd wind up clobbering the Zum as much as I can in their home territory, and then I would splinter off a fleet to deal with the Losvanta League. But the important thing to remember here is that I get to choose the engagement now. And what I will probably wind up doing is I'll only start a war with these guys once I actually think I can build sort of a separate fleet to deal with them. Which in my view is kind of I think that's the smarter approach. But we'll think about that at the time. I mean, again, I do want to get my influence up. I'm not able to move through Sanctuary, so I think we're probably going to just sort of blob out here. It wouldn't be a bad idea once I take this warp gate to sort of think a little bit about where my main choke points are going to be. I don't want it to actually be the gate itself. I mean, this is a little too much to hope for, I think. Like, here and here would be nice. But I couldn't worry about it. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I did an ellipse this time, is that it's a little bit harder to find obvious choke points, like when you have the Spiral Galaxy. So I will I'll meditate on that. But yeah, so the next few rounds are basically going to be finding some easy ways to expand and build some sectors. And I think probably I'm going to make sectors focused around Heodim. As much as that pains me, because I know I'm going to actually have to give up a lot of resources to include Beta Caselli, but I think it's time that I actually started. I think it's time I started carving up the Empire a little bit more. And then I think what'll happen is I might wind up conquering more of this territory, at which point I can expand this sector down. But like I said, I wasn't going to start a war with these guys before too long. So, the next little while, I have kind of a natural border on my, or a natural limit on my expansion. So this is going to be influence. My construction ships are just going to focus on infrastructure. I don't have any more military ships to build for the next little while. I'm going to focus more on things like building up my anchorage. And where's the technology? Interesting. Okay, so I don't have the technology to boost the anchorage yet. I might even keep that open. But I can definitely build a second anchorage and stop the penalty. And then what I might wind up doing, if we have the Riggin Commerce Exchange, so I've got base to build here, potentially a base to build at Heodim. But what I might start doing is building some bases, like at Bera, for instance. So if I take a look at Feynov... I don't have that technology either. I think there is a technology that lets you trade with the... there's a trading post that you can get with these guys. Maybe I'll just need to find curators. Anyways, that'll be something that I think about for next cast. For those of you who are interested in the stream, we will be back to Cultist Simulator on Wednesday. Big deal for Wednesday's cast because it'll be the Harbingers build. That will be, basically, that's going to be the last big build before the game is released at the end of the month. And again, I mean, basically it's 3 weeks. and Cultist Simulator is officially released. There's going to be additional legacies that they add to the game. The reason they're doing that, by the way, is to make the game a little bit more new player friendly. I think that's an excellent decision on their part. I'm going to be doing some YouTube content for that. And if there's things you'd like to see for Cultist Simulator, let me know, because it is something I'm willing to put a little extra time into maintaining. And then on Friday, I think I'm going to do Battletech, and that's because last Friday's Battletech was less than an hour due to the power outage. So again, if you guys, I know that'll sort of be the second week of the same things, but they're good games, and as always, feedback is always appreciated. If you don't particularly like the games that are being played, I will do my best to accommodate in ways that I think are in the interests of the stream, as well as kind of meeting people's expectations. Eyes of Sin is fond of Neville. And Sin, I also appreciate you probably didn't... I mean, I already have an established empire here. I hope part of this was educational for you. As always, we can chat if you had any other questions, but once this is done, there will be a new DLC that gets released called Distant Stars, and I have a feeling that'll be coming up fairly soon. So that'll be a chance for me to start a new empire, and yeah. Or, you know, this game will end and we'll move on. Anyways, I've kind of overstayed my welcome, so let's find somebody to host. Thank you guys for hanging out, those of you who did. And you know what? I keep mentioning Kilgore Trout, and I keep avoiding him on his Ultima streams. So I think it'll actually be great if we actually raid him during Ultima. So he's on GOG at the moment. So GOG is the official, GOG website. As you guys might have noticed, I'm an affiliate with him. Kilgore is a wonderful streamer. He does both his own individual stream as well as the GOG.com one. And the funny thing is that he actually has fewer viewers on the GOG channel right now than on his personal channel, which I think is very amusing. But he's a great guy. I do encourage you guys to stop by. Feel free to drop that raid message, because he is somebody who knows me reasonably well. I don't know how long I'll be hanging out, because I have some other stuff that I wanted to do. I actually wanted to finish early, and I'm about half an hour late now. But it was fun to do Stellaris for you. I've missed playing this game. So we'll be back, and next Monday we will continue on with this one. I hope you guys enjoy Ultima with Kilgore, and we'll see you next time.